This is the Philly to City edition. I got my guy Arty here, man. We're gonna talk about the Green Bay Packers. We're gonna talk how that falls in with the NFC and as a whole. NFC North. We got a couple other topics with the Packers. Devontae Adams, the loss of Adams, how they fall out in the NFC North. How is that going to impact Rodgers and the rest of the team? But we got a packed show, and just want to give my guy Arty the time to introduce himself. So go ahead, Arty.
Yeah, what's going on? I'm excited. I'm a I was a Wisconsin resident, but I was born, raised to be a Packers fan. Organization that much, but so I kind of stick with them and look at all and figure out what's gonna happen. It's gonna be crazy this year.
All right. So Arty, what's your outlook on how do you think the Packers are going to be this year?
Same thing every year with Aaron Rodgers, but at the same time, I actually think the best part of this team this year. Probably always gonna fall down in the playoffs, and saw last season Packers being one of the worst special teams in the NFL. This year, the defense comes in. They're only going to get better. Drafted a lot of defensive players. So the defense looks like this year. But like I said, you always got Aaron. But I think heavy. You mentioned Devontae reduction. Losing him is a big loss. It's going to clip people. So it's going to really show the receiving core and kind of what Aaron too after two MVPs going into this target for the last few years.
Yeah. So how do you think that will impact Rodgers, the loss of Adams?
I honestly think it's going to be pretty big in terms of the fact that I don't think the receiving core was. I know on top of losing Adams, we lose Scantling, who was the second wide receiver, and I just think it's going to be something new. But with that, if you have a group of receivers, so somebody's going to pop out. I think it's going to be a competition of who's hard. He's not the fastest guy. He's the fastest guy. Amari Rodgers, he can run. The system is kind of different right now, which I actually might do some wonders for Rodgers, like different receivers. We're talking about Ronald Driver. Everyone's kind of a different speak. That's kind of when he played his best. Thinking to be able to spread it out with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon go well for the longevity, because I think they're going to take more of a load off of him.
Okay. Yeah. So because I when I saw it, man, I'm like, when I looked at it, it was like, man, Devontae's good for at least what at a minimum. You're looking at a minimum now, like at least 110 balls. That's 110 balls. That's completely out of the offense, right? So I'm like, man, where are they gonna get that? Where are they gonna make up that production, right? And I see they brought the guy in, Christian Watson, I think.
Watson, yep.
Right, they brought him in, and I'm like, okay, are they gonna overload him? How are they gonna funnel it around? Because they brought Randall Cobb back, but I'm like, Randall Cobb's in his mid-30s.
That's something I want. Cobb, you've got Amari Rodgers be a second year, and he didn't have much of a role. Watson coming in as a rookie, and probably the oldest veteran target. I mean, who's actually going to get production? And I think they're probably going to overload someone is going to be. It's going to be hard to tell because you got off of the ACL tear that are 8 of last season, and actually think they're probably going to overload, which is going to be off of an ACL tear.
Right.
But that's what I see is them utilizing just running the ball a lot more. But then with the quarterback like Aaron Rodgers,
okay. So we have a question from Richie. Real quick, we have a question from Richie. He's asking, will Jordan Love see the most reps in the preseason games?
For sure. Preseason. I don't even think he likes coming to less than preseason. Jordan Love will probably have the bulk of the games. Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So now you have Aaron Jones in the backfield, and you have Dylan. Do you see a shift in the running game as far as the how they balance out the carries? Would you think they'll give AJ Dillon more carries than Aaron Jones, or will still Aaron Jones be the top back?
Well, I'll say it like this. I think carries and Jones will have more touches. That's another guy, the Jones, who they'll utilize. Back to the last game they played against San Francisco. Have Aaron Jones, who Adams, I think was probably the only perceptions in the game. So I probably have more touches, but carries and present the strong.
Okay. So now we can get to the other side, the defense, because I know that, we've watched the Pack the last 7-8 years, and you can see where, Aaron has led the team to the playoffs, through the postseason, but then for some reason, like, the defense falls off. Do you have a reason why that is?
A lot of it is just it comes down to injuries. I mean, you're probably going to win, but at the same time, they're just not that good. They only gave up 13 points. That should have been. They're just usually when they can't tackle. I mean, if we go to Francisco, the year San Francisco lost to, you go back to that. Basically ran the same 3 running plays over, and nobody can stop Raheem Mostert. You go back to the Atlanta game in 2016, and Julio Jones, like, nobody can tackle him. So it kind of gets. And I think there's always Packers fan. There's always that worry down, but I think recently with this young core on the defensive side of the Eric Stokes, Rashawn, you have these guys. That Preston Smith really came out last year. So there is one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. A very good Devondre Campbell was an All-Pro. They brought him. Sense the defense will be good for you.
Hey, you're breaking up. It's a lag.
I'm breaking.
Yeah, it's a lag. Yeah, it's a lag.
You got me now?
Yeah. Because sometimes it was It was like your voice was behind. I could see it in the audio, or see it in the video. It was behind the visual.
Okay.
Is it good? Is it good now? Can you hear me?
I think we're good. Perfect.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, man, and then I'm looking at the North right now. I see how I don't really see much, obviously, with the Bears, right? We know the Bears, we know the Lions and all that. Do you think there's a real threat in the division? You know, we also know the Vikes are out there. Do you think there's a real threat out there?
No, not really. I think too young on both sides now, and I just think, like you said, the free wins in the division. Mostly, I don't really think so. Again, we got the top quarterback. We'll have the top defense too in the division. We'll probably produce just the so. Yeah, I think the playoffs.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Also, I'm like, look, man, we know what Kirk Cousins is. We know what Jared Goff is. You still know that Justin Fields is unproven. You know, so I think it's their division until Rodgers decides to go home or he moves on,
Yeah.
man. But you are obviously we know that it's really not about the regular season with the Packers. You know what I'm saying? It's about the postseason. And who is going to how it is. I'm not going to use the word narrative. You know what people say out there about them. Hey, what are you going to do in the postseason? My thing is, don't look at Rodgers. It's the sum of the parts around him. Did they block in any of the playoff games he went home in? I don't think so. Did the defense do their job in any of those games? No. And then on offense, outside of Adams, who helped them? You know what I mean? So it's really about that, man.
Yeah.
As far as where do you see them stacking up with the rest of the NFC?
I think it'll be similar to last year, just for the playoffs. So they'll be there. Them getting past the. I don't see. I honestly don't even see in a category where the Cowboys are. So, but again, when you have Aaron Rodgers, but I kind of think the Rams. I really do. I think the Rams will run it. In terms of that, I don't want to say that they'll lose, but I kind of have a feeling is losing in the divisional round.
Yeah, as I compare, let's say you compare the Packers to, let's say, obviously, I'm an Eagles fan. I think, if I'm, the word unbiased, I think that the Packers are a better team right now because we've seen the sum of their parts over the last couple of years, even though they've gotten further in the last 7 years outside of one Super Bowl the Eagles won. They've gotten further, you know what I'm saying, in the playoffs than the Eagles have. So I can say, completely unbiased that, I would see the Packers over the Eagles. Just because of because of their defense or not defense, but their division. And then the second thing is just they have the better quarterback. Hey, what's going on, Joseph? Because of their quarterback, because of their running back, if you had to compare them together, I think that, the Eagles have right now the better receivers because obviously, Adams left. However, as a team, right now, including the coach, they have an overall team. That's what you got to count the coach, obviously. Yeah, so it's tough on them right now. I think the Packers are better. I think they will. One thing you can't really count on is you don't know how everything else is going to fall out. You know what I'm saying? Because the Eagles, I didn't think the Eagles were going to make the playoffs. I didn't think the Eagles were going to win more than 6 games last year. I didn't. I had them at I had them at 5-12. You know what I'm saying? And a couple.
I remember.
Yeah, a couple quarterbacks got hurt. After week 8, they ran into oh man, and Daniel Jones was horrible, but whoever was behind him was horrible, more horrible than him. You know what I'm saying? And then they ran into the 4th string quarterback in Washington. It's the I don't want to say the injuries are luck, but they just ran into a bad string of quarterbacks, and that's how they were able to get in the playoffs. So a team that, let's say, you would think they would win 9 to 10 games, if they run into a team that has a lot of injuries, or a few teams that can be 13-4, 14-3, you don't know. Or the teams can, that team can get hurt, and a team that you would say would be 12-5 or 13-4 could easily go 8-9, 7-10. Yeah, and it's kind of weird talking about 17 games. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. So go ahead.
And I look at it the same way. I think, in my opinion, is probably the weakest. Just, I mean, outside of the Pack week, pretty depleted, and just kind of having 5 wins if they should, which they never do. But if they 5 wins or even 4, having that first game at home, good advantage throughout the playoffs. Green Bay, that could be huge. Lost last year to San Francisco in the snow. If you have that in Green Bay, that can be huge. So that's a vision.
Right.
Playing the twice and the Vikings twice.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, outside of the, obviously in our division, man, it's really. I think it'll be better this year, but last year it was horrible. You know what I'm saying? Like, Washington was horrible. The Giants were horrible. We were, the Eagles were, I don't want to say we, but the Eagles were horrible for a good amount of the year. And then, Dallas was feasting off of really a scrap heap. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
you got to give credit where it's due to the Cowboys, man. They did what that's called doing what you're supposed to do. When teams is down, you ain't supposed to let up on them. You're supposed to kick them while they're down. So you can't get mad at them for doing that. But what you can say is all that kicking you did in the regular season, you need to do some of that kicking in the in the postseason, right? You know what I'm saying? Because the way I look at it right now,
sure.
in the top 5, let's say the top 5 NFC teams right now. Obviously, you're not going to knock off the champs. You got to give them their credit. It's the Rams. Then I look at it again. Obviously you can't count out Brady. Number 2. The third team, I'm gonna still say, the Packers. Right now, you can't when you got great quarterbacks, you can't take them out of the mix. You know what I'm saying? You just can't. To me, you can't. So you got the Rams, the Packers. I don't want to say the Eagles are a top 5 team, so they got a lot more to prove to me than that. I would put the 49ers way up there, but what's the guy's name? Trey Lance. Trey Lance isn't proven. He's an unknown right now. So I think after the first 2 teams, or the first 3, everything else is kind of fluid. You don't. It's a mix right now, man. It's just a matter of who's going to get hot at the right time, who's going to avoid injuries, and hitting teams at the right spots, man. You know what I mean? But the one thing, we know Rodgers is locked in for this year. We know that.
Sure. Yep.
What are they going to do? Is Jordan? I want to know, is Jordan Love? Because I look at I'm just watching as an outsider. I'm not going to definitely not insider. I'm watching as an outsider, and I'm sitting there thinking like if on the backside of it, they brought they kind of allowed Rodgers to hold them hostage at some point, but if you really believe in Jordan Love, you would maybe think about okay, it's time to move on. You know what I'm saying? But what do they think about him? What are they saying up there in Milwaukee about him?
And from what I hear, if they don't like him as much as they did when they, but at the same time, him that much, you kind of pay 100. What was 4 years?
Right.
So you kind of do that. So, the last year of Jordan Love was rookie. So to show them that you're going to pay the other guy that to be there not only for one more years potentially,
right,
for 160. That I think that shows a lot. For me, I'm Jordan Love in college. I'm not a fan of his. I'm sure he could be good. I'll never hate on the players or nothing like that. They had to work. But for me, I kind of wish A-Rod would have left. He deserves a new home or a new starter or pieces around him for sure.
Right.
I don't know. It's up to both of them. I kind of with the whole Davante Adams situation as to me, it kind of it seemed like they kind of let him that hey, we're actually going to trade Davante. I felt like he should have left, but
right, yeah, I think so also. But my thing is with the Davante Adams thing. I think from what I was reading, I could be obviously wrong. But I believe that like if they would have paid him last year, you wouldn't be in this situation. You know what I'm saying? Because that gave him I think he already had the thought in his mind that he wanted to go home, right? Because Vegas, obviously the Raiders went to Vegas, but if you'd have paid him ahead of time, you know what I'm saying? Then, but at the same time, it's like you wouldn't have really. I don't even think you really would have had to worry about Rodgers if he'd have known Adams was in tow. But things happen. So then you take that money and you pay Rodgers, but then you alienate Love. You drafted him in the first round. You know what I'm saying?
So now the action is this. So if Jordan and he doesn't want to wait another 3 years, and then if he leaves, if you're Green Bay and do what the franchise has done, go and draft a quarterback which is not helping Rodgers at all. So It's like Love, after you made it, when you're trying to get help for Rodgers, that is never going to see the field for you. And the one time he saw the field was when Aaron was out. So, if he leaves, if Jordan leaves, which he has the decision, do you go and draft another quarterback?
Right.
Because you can't play with two quarterbacks at the same time.
Yeah. And Joseph, I'm reading the comments, man. Joseph, yeah, I think me and Arty on the same page along with you, man. I don't, I think, like we said, it was a money thing at first, but then he had an opportunity to play with his, college quarterback, which is still his best friend. And you married the two together, the money, wanting to be home, and you got your college quarterback there who's still a pretty good quarterback in the NFL. That's what it is. And then, illustrative. Yeah, they had a plan. I think once the plan fell together, it just it made it easier. You know what I mean? You can't knock a man from wanting to go home and get the money and still play with his best friend. And the fact that, Adams is still relatively young. You don't know how much longer even uh, Rodgers is going to play. You know what I mean? So do you want to? You got to look at it from an Adams aspect. You know, do you want to be saddled to a Jordan Love who he's seen him there obviously because Adams is his teammate, so he's seen him. So that's telling me he didn't want to be attached to him either.
Yeah.
You know,
which is also not which is also. But going back to the Adams, I was upset with the situation. A player like that, but for Adams, I wanted both of them to get out. You know, fan,
yeah. You want
just seeing how to want them to go win. You know, but
right, and I know you wanted a fresh break because you know it's better to break, you know, and start and starting over up north. I don't think would have been a bad idea, especially because of the teams that are, especially with the teams up north, they all need to start over. I think you know even Minnesota, I think they're holding on to a pipe dream because we know what Kirk Cousins is now. Oh, so I have a question from Richie. He said Rieger. He said Rieger. We actually know the Eagles have Jalen Rager, AJ Dillon or Rager on the Packers, AJ Dillon on the Eagles. Do you do that trade? So would you trade Rieger? Or so if you were the Packers GM, would you give up AJ Dillon for Jalen Rieger?
Of course, I'm not a very big deal taking a wide receiver.
Yeah.
I think anybody running the ball that benefits them as well.
Yeah.
So bring them here.
For yeah, sure. Man. I can speak from the Eagles' perspective. Man, hell no. I wouldn't hit that hit that accept button, you know, the button for that trade on any game, not on Madden. Not if the trade thing was off. I would take, man, look, Jalen Rager, man, I know that he's a young guy. I mean, he's been through a lot here in Philadelphia, but I think AJ Dillon, bro, you know, if Aaron Jones wasn't there, I think that guy would run easily for at least 1,400 yards. At least 14.
Probably, yeah.
Because if anything, I think, you know, if you wanted to switch up the rotation where you gave Dillon more carries, I think Dillon would help out, you know, probably because I think what they do is they start off the game with Aaron Jones, right? And then they go with AJ to wear folks down. But I'm like, look, if you can get that effect right away, and that affects your play action reads and all that, why not go with, you know, start off with the bigger back first?
Start off with the power running game and then
right.
later.
Yo, hey, Arty, man, walk in the comments, man. My guy walks in the comments, bro. Yeah, but so
walk.
All right, so
walk would accept the trade. Somebody's got to get past. We can't get past that first. Somebody has to move on.
Yeah.
Walk.
So the next question right now, Rodgers. We'll go back to Rodgers. You know, obviously we know that the quarterback takes some of the blame, but do you feel that he takes an unnecessary amount of flack for what goes on?
It depends on the thing. So I also think it's just the narrative, but it's the talking point of you have when that can be compared to each other. Rodgers' sense, which honestly in terms of person, but there is, and just shows how good. But when you have those two conversation, you have the Kevin Durant and LeBron conversation, you have to there's of sports media, a certain section of to take away from one guy just to do it, just to make the other think that's probably the bigger problem than in terms of I mean points in a playoff game or 37 or 38.
Right.
Not supposed to win those, and he doesn't. And it's I don't think that that's on you that every single time down the field or he missed the field goal or the for a touchdown.
Right. Or
not Aaron Rodgers.
Or you're tied in on special teams, moving Jordy.
Oh my God!
What's his name? Yeah, I forgot Jordy Nelson out the way to push him out the way to go get an onside kick, and that's not his role when Jordy Nelson was right there. Those I think that Rodgers gets an unfair on my side. I think he gets a lot of unfair. Unfair press, man, because in a lot of those games he did exactly what he needed to do. The rest of the folks, like the touchdown that was given in the NFC Championship game against the Packers, or not the Packers, but the Bucks. My man gives up a 50-yard touchdown at the end of the game, at the end of the half, to Scotty Miller. Like it's just a blown coverage. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you do that? Scotty Miller was the slowest guy on the field. How does he get behind you?
Situations, yeah. If you look at all these, like, what else could they were going to do that? Like, there was no time left. What else? Obviously, Brady's going to throw it to him,
right,
on the 10-yard line. Like that's something, but at the same time, necessary amount. I would say so, yeah. Because of like Mason Crosby gets a field goal block, punt gets blocked for a touchdown. Well, if you're the best quarterback ball, what like if you shouldn't have goals on going to win you playoff games. Aaron should go out and score a touchdown every time. So that's just like I feel like have an unnecessary amount of criticistic expectation.
Right.
Even the quarterback, they touchdown every drive of every game.
Hey, Arty, in the comments they getting on your Wi-Fi, man. That's my guy. We're gonna get him right. We're gonna get Arty right, man. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have him on again. We're gonna get him right. You know what I'm saying? But
you're gonna have to get that.
Yeah. So Richie has a question. He said, Cole Beasley is a free agent, and he said he thinks he would work well with Rodgers. What do you think?
It's kind of the same as Randall Cobb, so kind of have that already. But I agree well with Rodgers, but I think we have.
Yep. But all right, brother. It was good. This was a good introductory pod with you, man. We definitely, we're gonna link up again. Sometime in the middle or probably in the beginning of the preseason. We're gonna let these guys get through training camp. I think they have the Hall of Fame game in 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Hall of Fame game is in 2 weeks. So I think that's the opening preseason game. Then they start actually playing the week of the 11th of August. So that gives us, another 2 to 3 weeks to get everything out the way, and then we're gonna have you back on along with Marv, Joe, Brandon. We're gonna have a couple more guys on, man. We're probably gonna have a round table You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have AO on also, and we're gonna get this thing together, man. We're gonna, talk shop on football. You know, obviously gonna probably jump in a little bit later down the line with some boxing and all that. But brother, it is a privilege and an honor for you to be on the pod, for me to be on the pod with you, man. I'm happy you're here, and we're gonna see you on a lot in the future. I want everybody in the comments to hit that subscribe and like. Get used to seeing Arty's face. We're gonna get his Wi-Fi together, so don't worry about it. That's my boy.
3 weeks to get
boy together.
Right.
We're gonna get him right, so don't worry about it. And Richie, the Bucks. Hey, the Bucks are still number one in the NBA. You know what I mean? Right now in the East, until proven otherwise, I still think they're better than the Celtics. So it is about that. But Arty, man, you have a good weekend. I'm gonna hit you up soon. We're gonna get everything right. You know what I mean? Like I said, it was a privilege to have you on, bro. This is the Philly the City podcast. That's Arty, man. Shout out to my guy Marv. Shout out to Joe, Brandon, Walt, E. And we are out, people. Y'all have a good weekend.